I start by saying that violence is the last resort of the incompetent.
But do you think women as such in this society is the vulnerable sect? And proportionately, when you compare what abuses men go through, what are the difficulties and challenges they go through emotionally, even men can have
Yes.
mental abuse. Is it proportionately higher?
I think 75% of the doctors have been submitted to some form of violence. 75% is a large number.
How do you think women can contribute in shaping the society into a safer society?
But I would say instead of going on checking your girls to behave themselves, wear better clothes, don't go out at night, I think it's also important to train your male kids and also tell your kids that they are equal partners at home.
But what do you think is the root cause as a society, and especially India as a society? What is the root cause of this mentality that all these things are so rampant in our society?
There are certain rules and regulations which has to be in place for the safety of a trainee, for the safety of the doctor, for safety of anyone out there.
As of today, if I'm walking down on the street and I get abused by a male person and he just vanishes, runs away, where do I go to file a complaint?
I think we've heard of girls who have actually gone through multiple tragedies of not just doctors, but being molested, beaten, raped, and of course, maybe a victim of verbal abuse as well. People think abuse can be only physical. Believe me, everyone ignores the mental part. So don't hesitate to go and file a complaint. File an FIR, register a complaint. Don't just write one and give. Get the complaint registered so that an FIR will be filed, and never be afraid of anything which is the truth.
Hi everyone, welcome to iTalk, a special episode. You are with me, Fairuz, and Dr. Shifali, and a very special guest for a super special episode, Dr. Ushy Mohandas. It's a pleasure and honor to have a great leader with us today, a woman leader with us today, in view of the current incident which we all witnessed. Crime against women is going to be the topic today, and we have got the most appropriate speaker and a leader with us today. So welcome, Dr. Ushy. Welcome, Professor Ushy. Thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
So recently we have witnessed a brutal crime against a doctor at workplace in Kolkata, India, which has stirred not just the consciousness of doctors, but nationwide, all people. So we have Dr. Ushy with us for discussing about topics related to that.
Yeah, so when me and Shifali, we were discussing, of course, all of us have gone through at various phases of our life as a lady, at certain instances, big or small, various experiences. And we were like kind of reflecting and, going back, and certain things we have forgotten in our life, which is coming out, right? And we were discussing about it, triggers, and that's called triggers. So then we thought about someone who can, actually enlighten us, tell us the reality about the situation with their, whole lot of experience. And we couldn't think of anyone else other than Professor Ushy, who has been a dean of an organization and has contributed immensely in bringing beneficial changes in various medical organizations, various having a different administrative roles. And she is also part of the International Human Regulation Organization, and she heads it for the states of South India, which is absolutely a great responsibility. And I'm sure, with that comes lots of experience and wisdom. And that is what, we are going to discuss here with Professor Ushy today. Professor Ushy, do you just want to address the audience before we go on? We have lots of questions for you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm really, really grateful to these young, two beautiful girls for having me. I'm old and beautiful. And I think women never stop being beautiful. And I think women never stop being strong. And I also would like to start by saying that gratitude is that fuel that keeps not just women, but all of us alive. So thank you so much for having me. I start by saying that violence is the last resort of the incompetent. And I believe that anybody who resorts to aggression, violence, or anything against man or woman, I think they seriously need mental help. And having been in the field that does a lot of mental work for more than 40 years, I have realized that even the most calm and peaceful looking people can be the most violent. And there's no need for you to shout, scream. And people think that only those who have anger issues, who speak a lot of foul language, yell, scream, beat, they are violent. Maybe that is a form of aggression, but let me also warn everybody that's watching this that the quietest of people can be the most aggressive. And I think silence is really mistaken. The only advantage of silence is that it cannot be misquoted. So I am so angry inside. I believe that many of us are angry inside of us. We have no choice but to get onto the street, scream, shout, and beat our chests all that we want. But believe me, all of you who are listening out there, this will not work. It might be 5 days, it might be 5 months, it may be 5 years. We heard of one girl long ago who went through the tragedy of what she went through. And from then till today, even till yesterday, I think we've heard of girls who have actually gone through multiple tragedies of not just doctors, but being molested, beaten, raped, and of course, maybe a victim of verbal abuse as well. People think abuse can be only physical. Believe me, everyone ignores the mental part. And women are also mentally abused. In this conversation, however, I will stick to the case in point. I think men can be abused as well. So I don't believe that women are the only ones that are abused. I think all human beings can be abused. There is an abuser and an abusee. So if you choose to be an abuser, please just understand that that was not a choice. You are sick. And if you choose to be the abusee, then you still have a choice to identify, call out, run away, point out, and do a lot of things which might help not just you, but a whole load of people out there who don't have a voice. And I'm not sure why they don't have one.
Can I just ask a question in between here? So when you said that, I agree, like, the abuse can be against women, it can be against men. But do you think women as such in this society is the vulnerable sect? And proportionately, when you compare what abuses men go through, what are the difficulties and challenges they go through emotionally, even men can have,
Yes,
go through
yes.
mental abuse. Is it proportionately higher?
Yes, I think in this country in particular, I believe because of the population and because of the gender imbalance that's obviously there, I believe that the women tend to suffer a lot more than the men. And the men are taught to keep quiet when they suffer. And women are also taught to keep quiet and suffer. And I'm not really sure whether we come from the land of Kama Sutra, which is K-A-M, no, CALM. So keep calm no matter what. Stay quiet no matter what. Don't open your mouth no matter what. You don't see bad things. You don't hear bad things. You censor television channels. You do all these kind of things. But we are number one in population. So though we are staying quiet, we are doing all the things that we shouldn't be doing, at least beyond the limit. So I think compared to men and women, women are the quieter ones when compared to a lot of men. Women are maybe the victims sometimes. I don't believe in victims, but I think many of the women are taught to behave like a woman. And behaving like a woman is endure, keep quiet, don't cross the line, don't open your mouth, get beaten if you may, get raped if you wish, and finally get murdered and be forgotten about because you deserved it, because your dress was short, because you stepped out at night, because your hemline is low, because of the fact that you speak your mind, and because of the fact that no one can live with a person who speaks their mind. I think it's high time the environment changes. It's high time that we become gender agnostic. It's really high time that we accept people for the people that they are. Men feeling like women feeling like men. You don't believe in genders. There are many people out there who just believe in life. And to me, as a doctor, I've never seen anybody as a patient unless it's a disease. But otherwise, for me, it's just a life that's coming to me. You're either well or you're unwell. And I think that's the way I look at it.
I would like to ask, you have done so much work with the International Human Rights Organization, and you were just talking about women and men and women's safety. So, where are we as a country for safety, or what is the current situation? Can you just tell us about that?
See, from all surveys, in particular, let me talk about IMS conducted surveys. I think 75% of the doctors have been submitted to some form of violence. 75% is a large number. And you can see that I talk about doctors because I am one. I've seen one. I've addressed many talks where I address the issue called you just can't beat a doctor. And I think it literally means that. It's a kind of a group of people who have tremendous amounts of respect. They do work which is like selfless. People don't treat it like a business. And at the end of the day, I think they just are there to serve. So safety, be it a doctor or be it otherwise, it is compromised for both men and women. And I have heard of men who have been molested. I have also heard of women who have been molested, in particular women, because the media tends to highlight what happens to a woman more than what happens to a man. I'd like to also share with both of you here that, when dog bites man, it's not news. But when man bites dog, it's big news. So at the end of the day, sensationalism and everyone who just believes that, okay, let's highlight this. Oh my God, it's hot news. Oh my God, like there are people taking videos of somebody dying instead of going and helping them. You want to be the first one on Instagram to post a reel. You want to go there and put up information and news everywhere on Facebook, not realizing that it compromises on safety. It compromises on confidentiality. It compromises on a lot of things which already a person is suffering from. So safety, I would say, very compromised. Safety for women, almost nil. And at the end of the day, let me just tell you that we focus on the victim all the time. I'd like to, in today's conversation, also focus on people who are likely to be abusers. I think it's really important to trace them. I think it's really important to give them mental health. I think it's really important to give them a space to come in and say, hey, you know what? I feel like doing this to somebody. And I think that way, the preventive aspects will increase more than looking at a CCTV and say, oh, this is the man who came and killed somebody. It doesn't make a damn difference.
Is it easy to talk about it and rather than bringing into practicality?
Yes.
Where we encourage men or women, the criminal instinct can be there in anyone, we're all individuals. We have a good part, we have a, bad part. We're all humans. We make mistakes. Well, so is it easy to get this thing into the society out there and give adequate, counseling or first of all identifying such characters?
Yeah.
Is it just that we can speak about it or is it practical? Like, is it really practical?
It should be something for consideration in the long run, Dr. Ferus. We cannot always be doing the things that we did because we will get what we got. I think it's really important for minds to come together and formulate something a little more preventive, something a little more preemptive. We live in a society that is highly, highly exposed to information. We have a generation of teenagers and growing young adults who are exposed to large amounts of porn, violence being glorified on screens, abuse being glorified on screens to such an extent, people do not realize the influence of media on minds. And I think one of the primary influencers is the fact that people, when they watch things too quickly, without being ready for it, your brain is not able to process what you watch. Thereby, what happens? You want to experiment. Who do I find? I find a vulnerable girl, a vulnerable boy. I find a vulnerable doctor or anybody that's not strong enough to defend themselves. That's not ready enough to call out the crime. So most of us are taught to keep quiet because it's very unwomanly to speak up. So I think more women out there should speak up, not speak up in a manner where all men are nasty, the whole society is rubbish. That's being too pessimistic and cynical. I think when you see something which is happening to you, or maybe someone that you know, it's really important to discuss it in many circles, in as many circles as you can. Use every opportunity to make sure people are aware. So awareness is key. Many of us are not aware. The other half of us are rebels, and we are like, I will walk out. The night belongs to me. I will reclaim the night. Fair enough. You reclaim the night, provided you're safe and protected. It's not really worth taking risks that are not calculated. And I think in this process of trying to be the woman that's liberated, the word feminism is not really understood by too many people out there. I think everyone has a right to live life the way they want, wear what they want, think what they may, and my freedom ends where your nose begins. So just don't intrude into someone else's space. And in our country, unfortunately, we are not taught what is personal space, private space, safe space. All these are not words. I think it's time to make all our kids, all our students, all our men and women familiar with safe spaces. And once you understand what is a boundary and a safe space, you will not allow a person to come in there. If one odd case is going on, it's so unfortunate, but that cannot be stopped. I think the law should be stronger. I feel society should be more sensitive and very empathetic and extremely important. I think we should work as a collective lot. I'm from the premise that all human beings are a part of the same universe. If it happens in America or in Scotland or Timbuktu, I think I'm equally involved in it as a person who cares or who is concerned about it. And I think that it's high time we did this, because imagine just about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, this tragedy happened in Kolkata. And yesterday, there was a woman doctor whose hair was pulled and face was slammed onto the table on CCTV. What has done? What has been done? What has been done? I'm not sure. Nothing. Nothing will change for quite a while. But I'm hopeful that if everyone gets together and starts working from the top down, I think a lot can change. A lot of interns, a lot of doctors, everyone else, they are shouting and screaming because that's the emotional reaction. And I think we should keep emotions aside.
Exactly.
Emotions should be kept aside.
Yeah.
And, asking for burning people, killing them, hanging them, and, like throwing them and ostracizing them and do this to them, let's do that to them and let's kill them. No, I think it doesn't give you any permanent solution. And solutions have to be worked out with a very calm mind, with dialogue, discussion, and ensuring that the law and the investigating agencies, they do their job and are held accountable for at least helping someone, especially the family who's lost a person. Death is the ultimate form of sacrifice, but there are many people who are dying 1,000,000 times when they're alive. And I'm worried about those people. When one person dies, the whole family dies with them. And when one person is abused, the whole family suffers. Immediate people. Even the family sometimes ostracizes you. I mean, what fault is it of the victim that, someone has to say that you invited it? And I've never heard a boy being told this. I've never heard when something happens to a man or something happens to another life that you generally pinpoint or say that you invited it. But I've heard this many times happening to women, that you didn't sit in the right way, you went out in the dark, you said the wrong things, you gave them the signal. Now, which signal are we talking about? I don't see any signal. Even if I give anybody the signal, I think consent is something which is very underrated in this country. People think it's your birthright for a man to flirt with a woman. People think that, it's the birthright of a person to just come in and give you compliments and you're supposed to smile and accept it. They don't understand the concept of familiarity. They don't understand the concept of where do you stop. They don't understand the concept of who's a friend and what kind of a friend are you. And yes, absolute boundaries. We don't have boundaries. But like I said, even in workspaces today, things are much better because of certain acts. But even the act is redundant when we are not using it. Even the act is redundant when we are actually not working with the act. Even the law is redundant when we are not ready to report. How many people who are abused report the crime? You're scared. Why? Because you're shamed. Why? Because you're abused.
Yeah.
Why? Because people say, oh my God, here comes a person who's abused. But nobody makes fun of the person who's abusing.
Yes.
You go to prison and come in. And I can quote the case of a doctor who was imprisoned for 14 years for having committed a crime. And currently is out and being invited as a guest speaker everywhere. And the people on whom he's committed those crimes,
Yeah.
Well,
we are aware of many. We don't want to get into the political scenario. We know
Yeah.
that, we have
Yeah.
leaders who have been, serial abusers.
Yeah, and they're
right?
free.
They are free.
Yeah.
They become the leaders. So, well, there are so many things which
Yeah.
has to be
Yeah.
set right. And
Yeah.
how do we set right? Of course, we don't have much answer to it.
Yeah.
But well, we are optimistic that in future we all get together. So another question that I have for you, Dr. Ushy, is like, women empowerment, yes, and you are a mother, you have
Yeah.
a son, right? Yeah. How do you think women can contribute in shaping the society into a safer society?
But I would say instead of going on checking your girls to behave themselves, wear better clothes,
Yeah.
don't go out at night. I think it's also important to train your
Very.
male kids and also tell your kids that they are equal partners at home. Teach your children, especially the boy children, not to play with guns and roses. You can also wash your vessels, sweep your house, wash your own clothes, and maybe your mummy's
You
clothes.
can have a kitchen
Yes,
game.
you can have a kitchen game.
Yes.
You can play with dolls. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, right.
So we are a nation which currently speaks about empowering women and worshipping women. But believe me, when it comes to certain things, we just like very conveniently dump the gender and we just don't hold ourselves responsible for it. As doctors, I know I've studied in a classroom full of boys. Who the hell is anyone to tell me or anyone else for that matter what is the right way a woman or a man should be? I think you should just accept people for who they are. If they intrude into your spaces, call them out. If they are functioning without your consent, scream and shout. And make sure that you thump the table as hard as you can when you believe that it makes a difference to the whole world around you. I believe that it's not the violence of the bad people that kills many of us, it's the silence of the good people that actually harms many of us. And I think it's time for everyone to just speak up at the right forum, in the right space and time, not get out there and stay away from your work and, just go here and there screaming and shouting.
Yeah.
Like I said, the emotional reactions have no
Absolutely.
space. And like you said, there's no need to be disillusioned. We have hope. I'm somebody who's like hopelessly positive, hopelessly optimistic. I think someday we will be able to walk the streets of not only this country, someday we'll be able to do whatever we want. Someday I never compete with anybody from any other gender. I would like to be the best version of myself. And I think age is immaterial. A young girl should be able to walk and breathe in the streets the way she chooses to. And I think she should be in a workspace the way she chooses to. And I think the same applies even to a man. So, men or women, I think freedom is really important. Freedom which is not bound by spaces, freedom which is not bound by gender, freedom which is not bound by society as a large, large part of who governs your freedom and who judges you for the fact that you eat noodles and probably you're a bad girl. You go and drink, so you're available. All these judgments need to stop. And I think men or women, both can be equally good, both can be equally bad.
We have touched upon like what to teach our sons when they are growing up, or daughters for that matter. What is the root cause? Like you have touched upon the social media and the screens and the availability of information. But what do you think is the root cause as a society, and especially India as a society? What is the root cause of this mentality that all these things are so rampant in our society? India is, I think, one of the most unsafe countries for women. Like if you see in the ranking.
Yes.
So what do you think and how can we change it? Like you have touched upon.
Yeah, I was doing a session in the morning for about 300 people, out of which 80% of them were women. And I just asked one question. How many of you in this audience have never been molested?
Oh. I don't think there would be any.
There was not a
hands
single
down.
hand that went up.
Let's do this
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Let's do
yeah.
this here.
So there was not a single hand that went.
I have faced abuse, despite I'm considered to be a very strong woman.
Yeah,
Well, I faced it, but then I gave it back.
yeah, yeah.
I gave it back.
Yeah.
I didn't keep quiet.
Yeah.
And that is what we were discussing. Because of this, so many of the suppressed incidents are coming
Yeah, it just
back.
certain things that we have
feel
forgotten.
like,
we have
okay,
forgotten
fine,
it.
we suppress them and we just move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they are
Shefali, you
actually
know what?
coming back and-
The excuse is, thank God it was only a touch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, thank
But-
God somebody just grabbed your
Yeah.
butt.
Yeah.
But when it's happening to a 7th grader, 8th grader,
yeah.
what do you do? I mean, you just like think about it, and now all of those things are coming back, and there have been so many incidents.
So many
Instances,
instances.
yeah.
And
Right.
yeah, and I would say I have been in like a good environment.
Yeah.
Imagine girls who are not in
Not
such
in
an
a good
environment.
environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not lucky enough. They're not
Yeah.
privileged. They're not from
Privileged.
socioeconomic backgrounds
Yeah.
where you can have the privileges of maybe going in a car or other things. They use public transport. Public transport is one of the commonest places where abuse begins.
Well, that way, public transport, yes, definitely. Even in a professional college,
Oh,
they are professionals. They are the
Mhm.
best, the most
Educated.
intelligent
Yes.
people there, coming from a good family
Yes,
background.
yes.
It happens even there.
Yes, there are instances when we all are doctors, we know we've done our post graduations.
oh.
There are times sometimes when they say there are two ways to get your degree. One is called Bhakti Marg, the other one's called Shakti Marg.
Mhm.
And when you have Shakti, you're intelligent, you show your might and everything else through intelligence, your books, exams. Otherwise, you carry your professor's bags and walk behind. You have to say you are great, you are great. And we have seen people who
That
do
is
that very well.
Bhakti
So
Marg.
it works both ways. So that is Bhakti Marg. Oh, wow, what a beautiful handbag.
That is kind
Oh
of
my
an
God.
emotional.
It is abuse.
It's an emotion.
It is abuse.
Yeah.
And people trace these kind of people very quickly. So I cannot imagine a time when somebody would ask me to carry a bag because they know I would say no. But there are people who would quickly carry it because they needed to make a compromise in the level of intelligence.
Yeah. So, another question for me. I mean, I'm so curious. You have held a post of a dean of a medical organization, right? Now we're talking about the professional level of whatever violence, crime, abuse. I'm sure there are cells, grievance cells,
Yes.
and there are certain rules and regulations which has to be in place for the safety of a trainee, for the safety of the doctor, for safety of anyone out there. Does it exist?
There are many, many, many committees, many, many organizations, many, I would say, groups of people, groups of associations, which are supposed to be set up in organizations such as colleges, hospitals, etc., to look into this. Unfortunately, I would say about 80% of them, they are non-functional. They exist only on papers. And unless somebody comes forward with a complaint, you don't even know where to go. And most of the time when somebody complains, Dr. Fairuz, they set up a committee ad hoc. For example, now, only for that complaint. It's not a consistent place where people can go. It's a place where you would come in and say, oh, so-and-so got, something happened. They complained. So you come here. I'll form a committee. Now you order an inquiry. You form a committee on the spot. They submit a report. Sometimes action taken, sometimes not. Maybe the niece or nephew of somebody powerful. So you start getting calls from above and below saying, please let them be, please warn them and leave them. The quantum of any punishment that you might want, if you're not strong enough, will be based on a lot of stuff that happens in this country, which is like what I call the bhaidam. And they will threaten you. And that's like the buys and the bends. Yeah, so it's basically you will get some kind of a force from somewhere beside you, which tells go easy because somebody is my relative or somebody is known to me.
So one question I had in mind was, we have all gone through all these episodes. All these episodes are coming back to us. But as of today, if I'm walking down on the street and I get abused by a male person and he just vanishes, runs away, where do I go to file a complaint? Do I go to a police station? Is there a certain, specific area where, or a personnel that I contact to? Is there any helpline number? What do I do?
In my definition and my understanding of law, you must straight go into a police station. There's enough of law out there which can give women not only protection but also punishment for anything that goes wrong with them. So don't hesitate to go and file a complaint. File an FIR. Register a complaint. Don't just write one and give. Get the complaint registered so that an FIR will be filed, and never be afraid of anything which is the truth. Even if there is a small episode of eve teasing that happens, or anybody who's ridiculing you, or actually entering a space where you're not comfortable, I think you can always go and seek help at the police station. That is the safest place to go to. That is the best way to begin. And at the end of the day, I can tell you that justice may not be immediate, but at least there are deterrents in place. At least the person who's trying this, there is a record of the fact that the person has done this. And that's why the next time they're going to do this, then they will think 2-3 times. And currently, a lot of people are running around doing it repeatedly because no one is really going and utilizing the existing laws. After the Nirbhaya case, let me tell everyone who's watching that the laws have become stronger. The amendments to the law have made it a very, very complete and completely strong and stringent law. So you can actually utilize it in case somebody really undergoes something. And I can also tell you that for doctors, those of you who are women or men who are working in OPDs out there or working in hospitals, there is not yet a preventive mechanism until the hospital and the colleges decide to have a security system that is going to let out an alarm, or you press a button and someone appears over there. But until that comes, let me tell you, file a complaint immediately. And even the laws of people who are violent with doctors, they have also been changed to become very stringent. And anybody who raises a finger, even gives you vocal abuse, verbal abuse, and even they symbolically gesture to you in an abusive manner, or where the doctor feels threatened, you can always go to the cop station and file a report. And there's a certain amount of imprisonment also for people like this who dare to raise a hand or a finger directly or indirectly through the family. So I think all the doctors out there, you must exercise your right to go and never be fearful of the fact that you might be the one that is stopping the same family from behaving badly with another doctor. Otherwise, it only keeps getting worse.
Yeah. So the incident happening and then going to the police station, already it has happened, right? So
Yes.
at that point, when things are going bad in your clinic or OPD or wherever you are as a doctor, do we have helplines where immediately there will be a rush of security from the police or somewhere who will just come in?
See, there are numbers which have been given at some stage, but I've not seen it really functional as such. But I would say that you need to install a private security system. Not only install it just to see after something happened who did it, but to have a person who's monitoring the security system. Because when you see something which is going to happen, or when you see that, there could be like, when you have a button in a spa, you have something in an emergency situation where probably you can just press that. And I believe that at least 3 to 5 people should be able to immediately spring to action. We have systems in place. It's just that the action is taking time. The gap between action and the call for help, the call for help and action should be minimized.
Yeah.
And it's really important. I'm sure the police will come out with something for the future, but why rely all the time on the police? We need to also have internal systems in place in the hospitals where we are working, even if it means that you're going to invest in extra security, because the future is only going to get worse.
Right. So like we have this golden hour and, in CPR, lifesaver.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we should have something like a golden hour or a platinum hour.
Because
crime and abuse, where immediately there is an action taken, the alarm is there, and then, whatever in the vicinity where there is a police station or
And you must understand that your doctors are not gods. They are as human as you are. And at the end of the day, nobody has a right even to touch a doctor. Forget beat one. And I think it's really important that we stick with each other during these times of crisis. make sure we find solutions. And I end by saying, when you open the window, one man sees the sky, the other one sees the mud. It all depends on what you're looking at. So it's a question of perspective. I'm sure that we all can get together. We can have maybe both of you and me can organize a lot of people who are interested to come by and join you guys, and have maybe a support group that is there for people like this. And I'm more than happy to help. I'm more than happy to be there with you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and I'm sure if anybody wants anything, you just come in there below the post and you can put in as much as you want in terms of suggestions, solutions, and in terms of wanting to reach out to any one of us. Please do that.
Yeah, and well, we are doctors, but Dr. Ushy is, she's a leader with international human rights organizations and various other organizations of human rights, especially women, who has to face atrocities and abuse. So reach out to us. We will be here. Yeah. So you said that, social media, there is so many things out there now, right? And social media is rampant now.
Yeah.
Like we come from different generation, right? You come from probably a decade before.
I'm lucky I never had a phone.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Well, I also didn't have phone for many, many years, but then current generation, it's totally different. So now we usually have this discussion. Well, I'm not raising a child, so I don't know much things about it. But I ask Shefali, aren't parents too overprotective nowadays?
Yes.
Then the answer that I get is because there are so many crimes happening nowadays around. Sometimes I believe, crimes were there before. It was happening, sexual harassment, abuse, molestation. But then we have so much of social media which comes out. People are getting to know more about it at this point of time. Do you think that's true? Or because of the change in exposure to this pornography and various other stuffs, things have really increased now? Is it? What do you think?
No, crimes have always existed, Dr. Pyrus. Always. I don't think the intensity has come down.
Yeah.
I only think the intensity is going up. I've never seen a time when probably the crimes were at the lowest ever possible.
When you were growing up as a child, do you think it was much less?
Yes.
Now it is more?
No, I was the warden of a hostel. Okay. And believe me, I've been the warden of a girls' hostel. And people might think that it's all quiet and very nice out there. But there have been enough episodes which I've handled in my life of almost 20, 25 years as being a resident warden, a chief warden, a head warden of both hostels for men and women. I understand that from then on, which is about 40 years ago to now, things are not at all, like less or more. It's the same, if not more. I would say that even then it existed, and then it was all quiet. Now it's a lot of noise, a lot of masala, a lot of things that are added, and a lot of sensationalism. Because like I said, when you see someone dying.
Quiet earlier, but it's more of out in there.
Out there.
I think
it's in your face.
It was just 1 hour of news and one newspaper, and whatever the most important and sensational news used to come out. Now every single episode we get to see on our Instagram.
Yeah, and by the way, all these sensational news coverage is sponsored as well.
Taking the positive side of it. Well, there is a lot of negative things about it, right? The positive side of it, when the media comes out with these things, just being positive, does it create a lot of awareness among the people?
Yes, there is good media as well. Yeah. Just like there are good people and bad people, there's also very ethical media.
So do you think this should come out?
Yes,
light?
Yes.
Every instance should be coming out? Yeah.
In fact, I believe that all the schools in this country, all the teachers and the children in schools, that's where it all starts. By the way, abusers are not people in the outside world. You can have abusers right there in your house. And abusers need not be people who are big, black and ugly or whatever you think they might look like in movies, portrayed to be the so-called guilty, most educated person in your house. Yeah, right there in your house. Yeah. It might be a parent, it could be a worker, it could be a staff, it could be a teacher, it can be a coach, it can be anybody. In sports arenas, there's so much of abuse that's happening. As a private counselor, there's so many people who come to me and report it. Unfortunately, they are scared because if you go and report it, then you're done and you're dusted. We've seen it in the new wrestling episode that happened, right?
Yes,
All the
yes.
wrestlers took to
I
the
was reading
streets.
about
Yeah.
rape incidences also. 90% of the rape is done by
Mhm.
somebody you know.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
it begins there.
90%.
Yes,
Yeah.
90%. That's why I call it bitter chocolate. It all starts at home.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, people think like, how can a parent do this? Or how can a sibling do this? Not everybody is bad. But that one odd person is enough to scar that person who has undergone that tragedy for the rest of their life. Is it worth it? Is my question. Second, 90% of the teachers do not know how to identify that there is a prospective abuser. And this is where I come in saying that there are now certain organizations which have started helplines.
Mm.
There are certain organizations which are also looking at the perpetrator of the crime and not only the victim.
Mm.
And
Which is good.
prospective perpetrators have a chance to remain anonymous and call these lines and have conversations and try and vent out their frustrations, by means of which maybe some people will be saved. There's no foolproof method, but it's really worth the try.
Yeah.
Because at this moment, we don't have too many choices.
Right. So I was raised in a Catholic school. Okay.
Me too.
Yeah, me
Yes.
too.
And I really like the principles, right? We have the catechism,
Moral science.
Moral science.
That's exactly what I wanted to.
And I got 102 out of 100 in moral science
You, where did you get that extra two?
because my morals were too high. And I'm still suffering from this.
Right. So we had moral science, and that's exactly where I wanted to come to. Moral science, right? And it was a girls' school. I mean, it was throughout the
Same,
girls.
same,
Yeah, you also.
Same.
Same.
I think.
So we were going through this moral science and stuff where you were told good things to do and stuff. Now you are from a mental health
Yes.
background and you have done a PhD in it.
Yeah.
You have a doctorate in it. Include a mental health subject like moral science.
Yeah, moral science.
Mental
It's
health subject. Inculcate it as early. We had moral science from first standard onwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
First standard
Yes,
onwards.
yes.
Yeah,
There
we had
was a
stories. We had
And then
books,
used
yeah.
to come and teach us,
Stories
yes.
and good stories.
Yeah,
How to
moral of the story.
Moral of the story. Will that change?
I wish it would. In fact, it's the need of the hour. In fact, all these colleges where these suicides have been reported, it's just like when.
Talking about depression or suicide.
Yeah.
I'm also talking about inculcating good habits of not being a abuser or just
Yeah, basically dominance. See,
yeah.
abusing is dominance. Basically, your insecurities that you're doing.
Yeah.
Yes, it can be, it should be, but it's not yet possible in my definition. But yes, it's food for thought. I think schools and colleges, it begins in schools, like I just mentioned a while ago,
As
that
early as
everything begins
possible.
in schools.
As early
And
as
the
possible.
earlier you have it as a subject,
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
the power to speak, which means public speaking.
Yeah.
You teach people how to speak and not stay silent. And very, very important, like she said, like moral science, I think mental wellness should be a topic which is frequently taught to people. What is the mind? How does it work? What is respect? What is trust? What is love? All these are big words which are never understood by people. That's why when you started in first standard, maybe by the time it's 10th standard, you'll have a
Morals
child.
were there
Yeah,
itself.
you'll have a child who has more awareness, who has more knowledge, who has more sensitivity, who has the ability to be an individual and not fall or succumb to peer pressure. Now, peer pressure is also very high amongst today's children.
Not even children, even
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
Parents,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Like I want to send my child to an IIT. I too want to send everybody there. I mean, my child has got 99.6. How sad. I mean, they're not happy with the 99. They're worried about the 0.4 you didn't get. So the point of focus has to change. And I think we
I
need.
think education,
Yeah.
like rather than the subjects, it's
Yes.
like teaching humans to be humans actually first.
Yeah. So it's the philosophy, if we can sum it up, it's like always build strong children instead of repairing broken adults.
Yeah.
And I think that really sums up that.
And that's what, like how to navigate through the root cause of what we are facing now.
Yeah, because we cannot avoid it.
Society.
In a multicultural society like ours, where in all aspects we have people, it's difficult to eliminate things totally.
Yeah.
But we can definitely reduce the incidents. We can definitely be more aware, and we can definitely be more preventive.
And then we come about, well, It's about, how we prevent it and then how do we punish it, right? We, as you said earlier, stringent rules and stuff. So will that create a scare in the society and that will bring
No.
about change?
The only fear will be if law acts quickly. The only fear will be if the existing laws are implemented quickly. The laws are there. They are good laws. They are stringent laws. They are very, very just laws, but they're not implemented quickly enough. I believe that at the level of implementation, especially at the level of law and order, it's really, really important that it's implemented and the right act is used. Even in the current case, which is raging in the country today, if you look at it, there are a bunch of 21 lawyers who've been sent in to defend the accused, and they were laughing in the court of law. How much more insensitive can you get? You got money, you've got muscle power. I cannot imagine that a person who comes in from the said background is able to employ the services of 21 Supreme Court lawyers. I mean, it just gives me, yes, and it gives me reason to understand that it's not just what meets the eye. A lot of things are not just what meets the eye. There's collateral damage sometimes, and people just pay a price for somebody else's crime and abuse, and everything that is just shoved conveniently under the carpet because someone is having money power or muscle power, and it's just not fair.
I was saying what is normal? That is also defined by, like how you said, no, as soon as the girl is born, they'll be given Barbies, or as soon as a boy is born, they'll be given guns.
Guns.
So that is has been there. So
It takes a while. It takes a while, but I'm
conditioning
sure
that has been there in the
I'm
society.
sure we can
forever.
break it.
Yeah, we're all conditioned.
We are all conditioned. We are brought up in environments which are definitely going to label you and judge you.
Exactly.
There's no need to be a rebel without a cause. We can all be rebels with a cause.
Yeah. And I think the most important thing is inculcating few qualities in an individual, like kindness, empathy,
Yeah. Respect, love.
Respect and love. These are the most important. If you have those qualities in you, when you do anything, like, when you do an act, you'll kind of reflect, am I causing any harm to the other? I think empathy is the most important thing.
And as doctors, we need that.
Yeah.
If someone comes and tells me I've got pain, I'm suffering, maybe I don't know what it is, but it's very important for me to feel what they are feeling.
Yeah, right.
And that's a great way to be. And India is supposed to be the cultural capital of spirituality. Where's the spirit? I mean, I always wonder. Yeah, I always wonder. See, it's nice to give politically correct speeches. It's also nice to go around the whole place, pretending that everything is all right and, just like, closing your eyes to what happens. That's not the way forward. Both of you, I believe that, I'm so grateful that at least there is a tiny forum here where we begin consciousness talks like this. Two fearless doctors. And the third one is congenitally absent with fear. And at the end of the day, I think...
I am fearless.
Yes.
Say that.
Yeah. So all of us, I think if there are another 50,000 people who can come along, I think it's just one drop in the ocean, and a lot more can join and voice your opinions.
And I think, I mean, as we initially said, that women is the vulnerable sector of the society. And I think women getting together, it can definitely change the society on, exaggerated scale.
Yeah.
You agree to that?
Of course.
Rather than men initiating to change the society, I think women, because of course we are nurturers by by nature, whether we agree it or not, a family is built by a woman.
Of course.
Yeah.
I feel that it takes two to always do something.
Of course.
But when it comes to a certain kind of caregiving,
yes,
when it comes to managing everything, keeping things together, and making sure that everyone gets their rightful share of whatever it might be in terms of emotional wellness, physical, mental, all kinds of wellness. If you have a happy woman at home, then 100% you can have a happy life.
Have an empowered woman at home.
Yes.
The society is gonna definitely change multifold.
And I also want to just add one point, that it's very important for women to be independent financially. When you're not independent financially, then you tend to stick to the abuse. You tend to have to put up with what you're getting. Because at that point, many women who are suffering, they tell me they cannot walk out of the suffering because they cannot look after themselves. That is not really true. You have to walk out and then find means to look after yourself. Otherwise, you will end up with a lifetime of suffering. And whether you're educated, you have a degree, you're sitting in a position, or you're occupying anything which is going to give you the authority to make change, if you're not an independent person and you do not think independently, then it's very difficult for you to walk out or come out of something that is the trauma that is left behind by everything that you've undergone. So much of childhood trauma, so much of marital trauma, so much of trauma at the workspace, so much of trauma in society. Where does this stop? Both of you have to tell me.
Well, yeah, so we're all collectively working for it. When certain incidents like this comes, it gets triggered, and then we kind of start reflecting what can be done. And I think current society, with all the exposure that we have, the knowledge that we can accumulate, what's happening around the world, and access to reach out to the public, I think it's high time, like independent, strong women like us, can make some change. At least few of us speak about it. If sometimes I feel like, being a doctor, a surgeon, a teacher, whatever, like, or being a woman, if I can inspire at least one in that hall that day, it's a success for me. As you said, it's just
one person.
Just one person is enough, who can just join and feel that, well, this can be done. We can be positive about it. And with this, I think if we can inspire at least few people who are listening to us to be empowered, and, how women can make a difference in your safety, at your workplace and the society, and help men also to be better in respecting our space and, in various other, being kind and empathetic. I think these are the things that we really wanted to express here. Would you want to say something as a...
No, I will just share my favorite quote that you die only once. You have a chance to live strong every single day. So what are you doing about it?
Yeah. True.
Yeah. So it's really important. And I'm so grateful that both these young ladies have taken it upon themselves to call the old lady and discuss matters that are really important. Age is just a number. When people ask me, how old are you? I say 18 with 50 years of experience.
Well, you're 18? I have started at 22. I think I should go to 16 now.
Yeah. So it's not to make light, but I think when you're happy, you're able to handle a lot of things. My sympathies to the family. My sympathies to everyone who's associated. Yes, who's undergone something, even the smallest. Yeah. There's nothing which is mine is worse than yours.
Yeah, right. Anything which is an abuse is an abuse, whether it's a verbal abuse, whether it's an emotional abuse, whether it's a physical abuse.
And one last word, if I may add, I also would like to tell you about a lot of people who come to me and talk about electronic abuse. When you post something on social media, there can be so many people who come out there because of the anonymity, because of the disinhibition that happens over there, because you're safe, no one knows who you are, and no one can attack you, no one can touch you. Believe me, they start spewing venom over there on social media.
Electronic abuse.
Absolutely, it's electronic, complete abuse where people have suffered stress, tension, depression because of constant harassment in the online space. And, we have special sessions that we all can actually take for people to handle this kind of abuse. There is a method in which you do it. Many people say ignore it, but that's not the way forward. Report it. There are very strong, not only cyber units, but also cyber acts, which can include punishment, imprisonment, etc. So all of you who are hiding out there and trying to abuse and create a nuisance for others, good luck to you, because you just are a coward. And, when you sit out there and just keep writing rubbish, in particular, a large number of women are subject to this form of abuse just because they dare to wear what they wanted or they dare to say what they felt. I think it's ridiculous, and complete shaming is a must with reporting. Never be afraid, because you live only once, and if you live well, once is enough.
Be fearless.
Yes, be fearless. I second that.
Bear or say anything. I think normal picture, even if you post, there's so many direct messages that
Yeah.
women get.
I get them every day. Yeah. Everyone, irrespective of age. You say something good, they come and question it. You say something bad, they come and question it. And that's why my Instagram handle says I'm a queen. Takes me 3 seconds to change into a gangster.
Yeah, but I really would like to thank Dr. Ushy for being here with us.
Most welcome.
For
Thanks.
inspiring, I think, generations of females.
Yeah.
I think what I would like to take back is 3 E's: education, empowerment, and I think enforcement of the law.
Yes.
And empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah.
It's like the umbrella for everything.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Ushy, from my side also.
Thank you so much to both of you.
So grateful that you took time from your very, very busy schedule of giving, mentorship to everyone. And one thing we were discussing is like, we always had mentors in our particular field, right? I have amazing mentors in ophthalmology, in medicine. It's so very important to have mentors in life.
True. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Would you accept it?
Yeah. Both of you are most welcome to the fold. The more, the merrier.
Thank you.
And I think, we need a lot more,
especially
fearless people out there.
Young girls, who are inspiring to become what they want to, and certain things are stopping them. It's very important to have a mentor. It's very important to have a women mentor, I think,
And to reach out.
Wow, yeah.
Reach out to people like that. Reach out to people.
can actually
Anybody that you want to. You're just a click away.
Wind behind the
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, and every lady, every woman should have a mentor whom you can, completely trust, unconditionally depend upon, and reach out for help. And, if anyone out there, we're always there for supporting, especially women who are going through tough times. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. And I hope with this episode here, we have brought out a very important issue, which is definitely, the current situation that we are facing, and few highlights into the prevention and how we can deal with it. And we are very happy to be here, one, to inspire, as we told, and we're always here to for help if you're in need of it. And I think it's very, very important to have a mentor in your life, just not your professional mentor, but otherwise also. Yeah. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.